Asian markets trade mixed. China cuts 2 more key lending rates as economic growth shows signs of stalling. The SGX Nifty too is indicating a lower start for the Indian market. And we have no cues from Wall Street with the US market shut for a holiday. Oil recovers as China cuts key lending rates. Brent holds $76 a barrel after climbing off the lows seen overnight due to demand concerns. Indigo places a mega order for 500 airplanes with Airbus, taking aircraft on order to almost 1,000 over the next decade. The order is the largest ever by an airline, and Indigo CEO Peter Elber says it takes care of the carrier's needs for the next 10 years and will double the fleet size by the end of the decade. HDFC divests its stake in its education loan subsidiary Credila, sends 90% of its total holding to Baring PE and Chris Capital for over 9,000 crore rupees. Meanwhile, sources tell us the company promoter Aberdeen is also set to sell its entire 10.2% stake in HDFC AMC via block deals today. Prime Minister Narendra Modi takes off for a high-stakes visit to the United States. Big decisions are on the cards with the GE-HAL fighter jet engine-packed and Micron's billion-dollar investment into India likely to be announced. Apart from meeting President Biden, the Prime Minister will also be addressing a Yoga Day event at the UN and will interact with select US CEOs and the Indian diaspora during the 4-day visit. Hi guys, good morning and welcome to Power Breakfast. I'm Pavitra Parekh. Those are the top headlines that we have for you this Tuesday morning. We are going to talk about the global markets. The US, of course, is shut for a holiday, like I mentioned. But for Asia, we are starting off largely on the back foot. Actually, all Asian markets are in the red following the losses that we saw yesterday as well. So you have the Hang Seng market, which is down a full 200 points right now. So over 1% gone over there. The Taiwanese index trading with cuts off around 0.5%. And across the board, Kospi is down 0.3%. You have the Nikkei market, which is down around 0.4%. So it's definitely a bit of a weak start for the Asian markets. The SGX Nifty will also come up for you, and it is indicating that we are going to start in the red. There's been quite a fall in the past few minutes as well, around 56 points lower on the SGX Nifty after the 70-point fall that we had for our own markets yesterday. So that's what's happening in Asia. But Wall Street futures are trading quite mixed. Remember, like I said, markets in the US were shut on Monday. This is for a holiday. And in important cues to track this week, we have the Federal Reserve Chair Jerome Powell, who will testify before the Congress on Wednesday and Thursday. So that will be important for us to track. And, we will keep bringing you all of those updates as well. But that's on the US markets. We are going to open after a long weekend over there. Onto the European region now, which ended Monday's trading session lower. So the French CAC index slipped over 1%. We had the DAX, which was down 150 points as well, retreating from record highs. And the FTSE saw a cut of over 50 points. So across the board for the global markets that are trading, there has been a bit of a cut that came through yesterday. The Pan-European Stock 600 index also closed 1% lower. Almost all sectors were in negative territory. But do remember, this is after the Stock 600 did post, its best performance that we've seen in over 2 months. So it is a bit of a cut, but coming through after quite a run-up as well. That's what's happening across the global markets. But let's talk about how all of these overnight cues really impact our own markets. We have our research team here with the trade setup and to take us through all of the individual events that we should track as well. Sonal, Mangalam and Surbi are all here now with the trade setup. Guys, a very good morning to all of you. Sonal, let me come to you first. If you're going through the global market, setup, it is a bit of a negative, but take us through everything we should track.
Oh, yes. So it is a negative start, which is expected. As you mentioned, US markets, they were shut for a Juneteenth holiday, and that's why no cues from there. But if we look at the Asian markets, they are also in focus because China has cut their loan prime rate. It has been cut by 10 basis points. That is the 5-year loan prime rate. And the 1-year loan prime rate has been cut by 10 basis points. And this is coming after Chinese central bank cut several rates last week itself. Even Japanese markets, they are lower in trade today after hitting a 33-year high yesterday. It is lower because Berkshire Hathaway has raised stake in 5 trading firms, all of them higher in trade. But if we talk about the benchmark index, most of them are lower in trade today. Hang Seng is down 1%. We have Taiwanese index, which is lower by 0.5%. So the cut continues after yesterday's weak trading session as well. And SGX Nifty is indicating as well that the start for our own markets, well, that could be 60 points lower yet again. As far as our own markets are concerned, Nifty, after opening higher, did see some profit booking yesterday. Nifty ended lower by 70 points, and PSU banks, IT and financial services, they were some of the top gainers yesterday. If we talk about India Wix, that was also up 3.5% in yesterday's trading session, and defense sector, that will continue to be in focus as well ahead and after the Prime Minister's US visit as well. There is expected to be some deal out there, and that's why that index will be in focus. Bank Nifty, that has been trading around 20-day exponential moving average. So now the Bank Nifty resistance will be at 44,050 and support is expected at 43,400. These are important levels to watch. This is about Bank Nifty, and on Nifty, the support is at 18,600. So some of the crucial levels on these indices.
All right, so now thanks a lot for taking us through all of those cues and some of the important levels to track as far as the headline index goes. But let's also talk about the individual stocks. Surbhi is here with that list. Surbhi, the most interesting news definitely came through from Interglobe.
That's right. So, Interglobe Aviation, Indigo orders 500 Airbus A320 family aircrafts. Next on my list is HDFC. The company sells 90% of its total holding in HDFC Credilia to Bearing PE and Chris Capital for 9,000 odd crores. Aether Industries, the company is going to raise around 750 crores via QIP. The issue price is going to be likely at 936 rupees per share. HDFC AMC, sources say that Aberdeen is going to sell 2.18 crore shares in HDFC AMC via block deals. Canfin Homes, the company is going to raise 5,000 crores, 4,000 crores via debt instruments and 1,000 crores via QIP. Additionally, the company appoints Ajay Kumar Singh as the deputy MD. And last on my list is IIFL Securities. SEBI bans IIFL Securities from taking on any new clients for 2 years.
Right, Surbhi. Thanks a lot for bringing us that entire list of stocks. We're going to watch for all of these in today's trading session. Finally, I'm going to hand it over to Mangalam to take us through all of the cues from the futures and options space. Mangalam, from that 10-point kind of distance to all-time highs, we did see quite a slip. But take us through what we should track today.
So closely, yet so far, that's what it was as far as yesterday's move was concerned. Because if we just take a look at the day's high yesterday on the Nifty was 18,881.5, and the record high was actually 18,887.6. The June 19th low, 18,719. The important part is that we closed at 18,755, which is basically, an up move from the lows and also closing above that 18,750 mark itself. The cash market flows yesterday, they weren't, pleasing. We had the FIs sell almost 1,000 odd crores, the DIs selling around 365 odd crores. But importantly, this is an exception and not a norm, and will be interesting to see how the volumes pan out once the global markets open up again in full tilt as well. The FIs also unwound some long positions in index futures, 1,325 crore worth sell, where they've unwound around 7,600 long contracts and added about 6,500 short contracts, as a result of which the FI long-short exposure is now more of an even Stevens at 51.49 itself. The interesting bit that took place was in index options. Remember, going into yesterday's trading session, we saw a lot of put writing and a lot of call unwinding. But then that was reversed because the put writers were caught on the wrong side. They had to unwind their short positions. 51,000 put contracts on the short side unwound. And we saw some call writing telling you that there could be some resistance on the way up itself. And if that resistance has to break out, the FIs are playing that via buying options rather than buying futures itself. The active calls yesterday were 18,800, 18,900 and 19,000 itself. So if you just take a look at the 18,000 call, there has been almost a crore shares in open interest. Just pick up the 18,900 call as well, and the 19,000 call, telling you that we have seen some sort of resistance on the way up. However, puts at 18,800 and 18,700 were unwound as well. The Nifty put call ratio, which was at close to 1.3 times yesterday, has narrowed to 0.98. So that leaves some room for an upside. So it cools down from the overbought levels for the market. The Nifty Bank has been meandering between the 20-day moving average and the 50-day moving average, and right now right in the middle of that range. So that's something we'll be watching out for as well. It is a Tuesday, so it's Fin Nifty weekly options expiry. The Nifty Financial Services Index at the bottom of your screen at 19,425 actually is likely to be an important support, because 19,400 put has the highest open interest. On the way up, 19,500 call has the highest open interest as well. We've been talking about how IEX has been doing well yesterday. It came out of F&O ban, and watch out for HAL that has entered the F&O ban.
All right, Mangalam, thanks a lot for getting us all of those cues ahead of the market open today. Finally, let's also talk about the commodity space, because there's been a lot of action there as well. Manisha joins us with that update. Manisha, big moves in crude overnight, but there was a bit of a recovery as well.
Oh, well, yes, but that hasn't sustained at all. And again, in Asian markets right now, we are trading with nearly a percentage point of a decline. While markets clearly are trying to digest China cutting loan prime rates by 10 basis points for the 1 year and the five-year loan prime rates. But, the 10 basis points that you have seen come in is exactly what they did for the short-term and the near-term rates as well. And the markets do not read too much in the quantum. Is the reason you haven't seen a huge knee-jerk reaction coming in, because the street was clearly expecting something more and bigger. 10 basis points doesn't rest or sits too well with that. Is the reason we're still trading in the negative for the crude oil prices. For crude, it also is about the U.S. Fed Chair Powell, who's going to testimony before Congress on Wednesday. And then you also have seen Iran oil output and exports continue to hit highs. We have seen a record high in the month of June itself. That's weighing onto the crude oil prices. For metals, there's a bit of a support coming in. Copper not too far away from its 1 month lows. The China rate cuts is going to be supportive, whatever quantum that is. And we have seen the long positions continue to rise here. Shorts have continued to decline. So that tells you that the speculative money also seems to be moving on the higher side for copper prices. Not too much is what the street is anticipating, but we have the bottom done already. So consolidation and higher highs is what you can expect in metals from here.
Okay, Manisha, thanks a lot for getting us all of that action in terms of what's going on in the commodity space. With that, it is time for a break on the show. Our first one here. But when we return, Prime Minister Narendra Modi takes off for a high-stakes visit to the United States. We're going to tell you what's on the agenda for the next 3 days after this short break. Hey guys, welcome back. You're still tuned into Power Breakfast, and let's talk about that big news that really came through from the aviation space. Like we were mentioning, Indigo has ordered 500 aircraft from Airbus, placing the largest ever order by an airline. So the fleet of aircraft is set to be delivered over the next 10 years. And Indigo's CEO Peter Elbers says an order book now of almost 1,000 aircraft enables it to fulfill its mission to continue to boost mobility in India. Listen in.
We still have a lot of time to do that. And clearly Indigo has a proven model in terms of financials. What's very important is that after numerous quarters of losses, we have turned into positive again. And clearly COVID has had its hit on Indigo as well. Prior to COVID, Indigo was a well-performing company financially. The last 2 quarters, and I'm sure you're very well aware of these financial numbers, the last 2 quarters were positive again. So we started to build a rebuild, if you wish, financially that part, and we still have time, plenty of time, I should say, to evaluate all options and modalities on the financing part going forward.
All right, big, aircraft order there from Indigo and set to create 1,000 aircraft fleet in the next 10 years. But with that, let's talk about the big queue that we're all tracking. Prime Minister Modi has embarked on his 3-day trip to the United States, his first one to the United States, actually. And the visit promises to be a power-packed one covering trade, education, defense, technology partnership, and lots more. Parikshit is here to tell us more and what's on the agenda.
Prime Minister Modi and President Biden will spend time with each other over the next 4 days. Prime Minister lands in New York 20th of June for a 4-day visit of the US. Soon after landing in New York, he will meet select US CEOs. This includes heads of Micron, GE and General Atomics. On the 21st, the Prime Minister will lead the International Yoga Day event at the UN headquarters in New York. He then takes off for Washington, D.C., where he will attend an event on skilling and capacity building. There will also be a private engagement between him and President Biden in Washington, D.C. itself on the 21st. On 22nd, which is the main day of events, the Prime Minister and President Biden will have a number of bilaterals. The day will begin with a ceremonial welcome at the White House, and there'll be delegation-level talks as well. The same day, Prime Minister will address the U.S. Congress and attend a state dinner hosted by President Biden and First Lady Jill Biden. On 23rd, he meets US CEOs one-on-one and in delegations as well. He will attend a lunch hosted by Vice President Kamala Harris and Secretary of State Antony Blinken at the US State Department. He will then address the Indian diaspora at the Reagan Center and leave for Egypt. The big deliverables from this visit. India-US will announce a roadmap for defense industrial cooperation and linking supply chains. GE and HAL will sign a multi-billion-dollar deal for 80% tech transfer by value. GE to transfer fighter jet engine technology over 3 years, and 600 Indian MSMEs could benefit from this deal. India is also likely to sign a deal for procuring MQ-9 Reaper drones from General Atomics. There will also be extensive, wide-ranging and deep discussions on critical and emerging technologies between India and US. Both countries are likely to sign an agreement on collaboration in skilling, training, research and manufacturing of semiconductors. Micron is likely to announce an investment of over $1 billion to set up a semiconductor facility in India.
All right, big deals expected from the Prime Minister's visit to the United States. We're going to keep bringing you up to date through everything that comes through. But for now, it is time for a break. When we come back, we're going to talk about all of the important national updates that have come. So stay tuned for that.
This is Bazaar Morning Call, broadcasting live from the CNBC TV 18 Motilal Oswal studios in Mumbai.
Welcome back. You're still tuned into Power Breakfast, and here's another important story. The Central Board of Indirect Taxes has been cracking down on fake GST claims, and sources suggest that the department has to date identified fake claims worth 15,000 crore rupees. Shivani is here with more. Shivani, take us through what you're picking up in terms of the government crackdown against the issue of fake GST claims.
According to the Finance Ministry sources, the Central Board of Indirect Taxes and Customs in its ongoing drive has found that over 15,000 crore were taken as bogus input tax credit. CBIC had selected a total of 60,000 entities based on various risk metrics. The verification process, which is still underway, is completed for 43,000. Based on the process undertaken so far, 11,000 of these entities were found to have claimed bogus GST input tax credits. The drive against fake GST claims is still on, and the 2-month drive will end on July 16th. At the moment, there are two ways in which these bogus claims are being made. One is misdeclaring one's identity, or in many cases stealing someone else's identity, and also by misdeclaring the place of operation of the businesses. CBIC has also found that these businesses are furnishing bogus rent agreements and misrepresenting Aadhaar cards. Sources suggest that the Department of Indirect Taxes is now looking to tighten the validation norms for these invoices. The matter is likely to be taken up by the GST Council on July 11th, and sources suggest that CBIC is likely to introduce additional validations within the GST return filing system to weed out these bogus claims. The Department of Indirect Taxes is also using artificial intelligence and machine learning to tackle the issue of fake claims. Sources suggest that GST Council is most likely to pronounce on this matter in its July meeting. Back to you.
All right, Shivani, thanks a lot for getting us all of the details there. Let's also get you the latest on some national updates that we are looking at. The heat wave in Uttar Pradesh and Bihar, where the death toll has now reached nearly 120. And the death toll in Uttar Pradesh alone is at 68. We learned that Bihar's hospitals are also seeing a surge of patients reporting health issues caused by the heat wave. And over the past 2 days, 7 people have reportedly died in just the Bhojpur district. However, there could be some relief in sight as the southwest monsoon is expected to advance and reach the region within the next 2 to 3 days. So here's hoping that that does happen, and there is some relief for the people in Uttar Pradesh and Bihar. But with that, let's also talk about the violence that we are seeing in Manipur. It continues to be marred by all of the violence that we are seeing, and on behalf of the ethnic clashes, Chief Minister Biren Singh also warned the warring factions of consequences after a soldier was shot at in Imphal. Several organizations have also demanded imposition of the president's rule in the state, but many in the government are against it. There are also talks of lifting internet suspension in the state. However, some government officials suggest that they may not lift the suspension immediately, as videos of violence circulating online could really, flare up tensions further. There have also been multiple attacks on the homes of elected representatives and incidents of looting within Imphal. So that is what we have from Manipur, and we are, of course, going to keep bringing you more on this through the day as well. But with that, we're going to wind down on this edition of Power Breakfast with the news that Asian markets are all red right now, with Hang Seng leading the losses right now. It's a 215-point cut, 205 points now in the Hong Kong market. But it is weak across the board. Taiwan has slipped further, 0.8% lower there, and the SGX Nifty has also slipped further. It's almost 80 points lower on the SGX Nifty right now. So a bit of a weak start, but let's see how things move from there. Thanks a lot for tuning into Power Breakfast. We have Bazaar Morning Call up into